the algorithmic metrics of our existence, or what happens when there's nothing on cable TV during the daytime. I was wondering, because I wasn't able to find a book that one of my good buddies from high school recommended that I could find, I was wondering what communication on an XY graph axis would look like. What would names and sentences be like in a graphical representation? I arbitrarily chose the analogy of atomic mass in relation to consonants and vowels. Consonants would be the protons, vowels would be the electrons, the space between the letters would be the neutrons. The vowels would have a decimal value given to them, such as 16, 32, 48, 64, 83, and 0.99 for Y, just being me by doing that. The consonants' numerical place in the alphabet would be their numerical, the ordinance of their numerical value. Thus, Harpo would be H equals 8, A equals 0.16, R equals 18, P equals 16, O equals 0.66 for a total value of 42.82. Still trying to make an algorithm from words, I decided to have words as polynomials so that Harpo was a function of y in x terms, with x equaling the ordinate number of a word in a sentence. And the formula would have the form of 8x to the 5th times the vowel minus 0.16 x to the 4th. I always have the vowels as negative since they're new electrons, plus 18x cubed plus 16x squared times minus 0.6. As you can surmise, those values as a word would be astronomical. But I devised a system to keep the final function less than 20. And then it was a matter of how else to coordinate this. And I decided that I would use it based on the year. 1 year equals 365.24 days. I chose March 21st as the start of a biospheric year, since it is the nominal start of the thawing and warming season as day number 1. Thus, today, as it was yesterday, February 22nd, would be the 338th day of the biosphere, and its numerical ratio to the total number of days in a year to 3 decimal places would be 0.025. And as an addendum, on a circle, the sign function that I'll be using would be for a degree of 338 degrees. Just moving on. So there you have right now what I have as the values that I'm using. An example of the values that I'm using. For example, for Harpo, and then for the vowels. And then these right here below, those values translate to Harpo equals 16.8 when they're all summed up. Has equals 2.8. Really equals 6.5. Gone equals 7.3. Off equals 14.3. His equals 9.4. And chain equals minus 13.1 for the term I'm going to be using for this. Harp has really gone off his chain, as you always knew that I had. And this page 5 here is the graph. And this basically looks like what it would have been per those words. Now I could have done this for each word and it would have been a little bit more, but I'm one who keeps out of the weeds and just tries to give you a general idea of what I'm talking about. Because I believe that we set ourselves in patterns that can be formulaic. And thus, we limit ourselves to the variables of that formula as far as rational, irrational, and imaginary. I guess most of mine are imaginary. So here I am. This is what I do when there's nothing on cable and I have to do something.